Hi everybody, my name is Thomas, and I am here to talk about my top 10 favourite films of 2018 this year. 2018 has been a hit and miss for movies. There have been some good ones, there have been some bad ones, but for the most part, I've been able to find 10 good movies that are worth talking about on this list. Now before I get to my countdown, here's some honourable mentions. Avengers: Infinity War, Black Panther, First Man, Hereditary, Isle of Dogs, Lean on Pete, Paddington 2, Widows. These were all generally good and well-made movies that deserve their acknowledgement and deserve all the praise that they get. But however, I did manage to find 10 other movies that were worth putting on the list. With that said, let's get on to the top 10 favourite movies of 2018. Number 10. Searching. This movie took a fresh and unique take on the found footage genre that I have not seen in a while. The movie is told through the perspective of only a computer screen and some iPhones, but it is so clever at keeping you hooked and engaged throughout the whole movie. The amount of effort put into the details of using the internet and the way it keeps you involved and hooked into this story is really interesting. John Cho as the main lead gives an outstanding performance in this movie. He keeps us hooked and engaged in every scene that he is in, showing how much he loves his daughter and wants to find her. I find this film to be really underrated, as I don't hear a lot of people talk about this movie, but it is just an absolute gem. Great writing, great directing, great acting from John Cho and Deborah Messing, and an all-around great thrill ride that's worth the search. Number 9. Leave No Trace. This movie has probably one of the best father-daughter relationships I've ever seen in any movie. The way these two characters deal with their problems and hardships is done with such subtlety and so much grace. Their development and growth is handled so naturally and so well done that it never feels out of character. It feels like they're working off each other like a real father and a real daughter. Ben Foster gives the performance of his career. You know that what he's doing for his daughter is not the best thing, but you know he's trying, and he's trying hard to make it all work out. But the real star in this movie is Thomasin McKenzie. She steals every scene that she is in and grows and changes throughout the film. You sympathize with her struggle and you really relate to how she feels about her father. I also love how it's a very atmospheric movie. The characters and environment in this movie play a big part in why this movie works so well. And it all comes together with great directing, great writing, great pacing, and outstanding performances from Ben Foster and Thomasin McKenzie. If you haven't seen this movie or even heard of it, check it out because it's worth your time. Number 8. A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place. This was a very tense and very entertaining horror film. The way this movie handles suspense and tension is brilliantly done here, with the majority of the movie using mostly sound effects and little to no dialogue. It's original, it's creative, and it's a fresh take on horror films. I also love the amount of realism being used in this movie, like having Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, who are a real-life couple, work off each other, and Millicent Simmons, who is actually deaf in real life. But it all adds to the believability and the risky situations that these characters are put into. Both Emily Blunt and John Krasinski give outstanding performances, as do the kids in the movie, especially Millicent Simmons, who gives her all in the emotional sequences in this movie. It's creative, it's fresh, it has well-directed sequences, the sound design is brilliant, and the family dynamic in this movie works so well that you really root for these characters all the way through. Number 7. Mission Impossible Fallout. It amazes me how this action franchise is able to find new ways to go bigger than the last one. Out of all the Mission Impossible films I've seen, this is probably the most exhilarating of them all. The action is also some of the best I've seen of all the movies. There's skydiving, jumping over buildings, hanging over helicopters. It's all great, and it all feels as exciting as the last one. And on top of that, there's also a gripping story to go along with it. Tom Cruise is still great in this movie, pulling off all of his own stunts while also showing how dedicated he has been to this franchise for so long. As does Rebecca Ferguson, Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, as well as new actors like Henry Cavill and Vanessa Kirby. It's hard to say if this is going to be my new favourite Mission Impossible movie because I still like Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol more, but it's still a fantastic film nonetheless. Great action, great story, great acting, great stunt work, in an all-around great movie that you should definitely choose to accept. Number 6. BlacKkKlansman. This is probably one of director Spike Lee's best movies in years. It's probably one of the most entertaining movies he's ever done since Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X. The way Spike Lee deals with the themes of racism, discrimination, and very timely issues going on in the world today, it's obvious and hammered down to you, but the way he handles it, it's done in a way that's very engaging and very interesting. The performances from the cast are terrific, from John David Washington to Adam Driver and Topher Grace. They all do a great job at keeping you at that level of engagement. While it does have a very obvious message and it obviously wants to get a reaction out of you, it's the directing, the writing, the acting, and the overall style that the movie is going for that keeps you highly entertained and gets you to watch and comment on all the themes they bring up. And to me, it's all the making of a really good and really interesting movie. Number 5. A Star is Born. This was an entertaining movie from beginning to end. This movie was able to show the evolving nature of what happens when someone rises to fame while the other falls in shame. The heart and center of this movie belongs to Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Their performances and their chemistry is believable and likable, and it's all handled with such subtle direction from Bradley Cooper himself. Even some of the side characters have some depth to them, mostly from Sam Elliott, who has the most depth of all of them. The music is also fantastic, and they're all sung so beautifully by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper themselves. There's powerhouse songs, there's subtle songs, there's emotional songs, there's personal songs, and they all work naturally. Great drama, great music, great direction, and great acting from all the cast, including our two lovable leads who pull the film together perfectly. Number 4. Can You Ever Forgive Me? This was a damn good movie. It was one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. The story about a failing writer who finds a way to make money by forging letters and memorabilia by famous dead authors and playwrights does a brilliant job of letting us sympathize with this character. Even though she's doing things illegally, we still root for her to get as much money as she can and make a better living for herself. Melissa McCarthy gives one of the best performances she's ever given in her career, as does Richard E. Grant, playing a very jerky but still very likable character. I was also amazed at how witty this screenplay was. Both actors managed to sneak in some funny lines in between, mixed in with all the drama that's going on, and it just all the more adds to their personality and likability. A very intriguing movie with a witty screenplay, powerhouse performances from two great actors, and has the ability to tell a relatively simple story, but with big consequences. Check this one out, it's a gem. Number 3. The Favourite. This film was so funny, so shocking, so surreal, and so enjoyable to watch all at the same time. I just loved the way that these people made this unique, stylized version of the 1700s. And telling about two women who try to win over the Queen's favour, and the way they try to one-up each other, as well as manipulate others in order to be ahead of the game. It's just brilliant writing and brilliant directing. The three central performances from Olivia Colman, Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz are all outstanding and what holds the film together. I also have to give major credit to the director, Yorgos Lanthimos, director of other surreal movies like The Lobster or The Killing of a Sacred Deer. This is probably my favourite work of his so far. From the surreal cinematography, to the lush costumes and production design, to really powerful directing, writing, pacing, and acting from the three female leads, this movie has to be seen to be believed. Check this one out and have the time of your life. Number 2. Roma. This film is a personal masterpiece. This is filmmaking at its best. The film is written, directed, edited and shot by Alfonso Cuarón, who directed Gravity and Children of Men, and he could not have made this as perfectly crafted and executed as he could have. The way this is directed and handled, you really get the sense of being with these people and living in this town. It feels real and it feels genuine. The film is told not through a narrative, but through a series of moments. It's just a film showing life being lived, and you know what? That's all you need to create interesting drama and interesting conflict. It's purposefully slow moving and holds on shots for long periods of time, but it all adds to the style and realism that the film goes for. Yalitza Aparicio as Cleo, the servant who looks after the family, is really good here, gives a fantastic performance and handles it with composure and subtlety. This film is handled with care. The directing, the shots, the performances, and the realistic feeling of being in this town, it all works fantastically. Check this one out, it's a masterpiece. And my number 1 favorite movie of 2018 is SpiderMan Into the SpiderVerse. This was just an absolute roller coaster of a movie. I've seen this movie twice now, but every time I've watched it and every time I've thought about it, it just gets more and more exciting for me. It was fun, it was funny, it was exciting, there was so much heart and drama to it, the voice acting is phenomenal, the characters are also likable, and this has probably some of the best superhero origin story arcs I've ever seen in any superhero movie. Especially Miles. You connect with his motivation, his flaws, his strengths, and you genuinely want him to be the best superhero he can be. The best kind of praise I can give this movie is that it knows when to be funny and it knows when to be serious, and it's all handled with brilliant pacing and really stylized animation. And speaking of the animation, it is some of the most fun and kinetic animation I have ever seen ever. It's so cool to look at, it looks like an actual comic book, and it's so full of life and never feels out of place. What really shocks me is that this movie is nearly 2 hours long, which is more than the runtime of most animated movies, but the great thing is I never felt the runtime. It all moved so flowingly and so fast and so slow at the right times that I never felt bored by this movie. I really have to give major credit to the directors, the writers, and the animators for putting all their effort into this movie. As well as the voice actors. The voice actors are outstanding, from Shameik Moore to Jake Johnson to Haley Steinfeld to Nicolas Cage to John Mulaney, who has some of the best jokes in the movie. But if I had to point out one nitpick about the movie, it's that Kingpin isn't much of a strong villain, but he still has his motivations and he does have menacing moments at times. I just didn't think he added too much conflict to the main conflict that was going on in the film, and it's not really a problem with the film. And that's the biggest credit I can give to. There's hardly any problems with this movie. And on a side note, it has probably the best Stan Lee cameo ever put. It is so heartwarming and so genuinely well done that it nearly brings a tear to your eye. What else can I say about this movie? It's fun, it's awesome, it's probably my favorite adaptation of the Spider-Man movies, and it's definitely my favorite movie of 2018. Go see it and experience it for yourself. And with that, I give you all my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. There have been so many great films that have come out this year, and I hope to see more in the future. Thank you all for watching. Please leave in the comments below which movies were your favorite of 2018, and have a great day.
put